It was Christmas morning in Houston, Texas, in 2013. A 7-year-old girl named Emily received a frozen ELSA doll. She pressed the button. The doll sang, "Let it go." Everything felt normal for the first few days. One night, at 2:17 a.m., her mother heard singing. It was coming from the living room. The ELSA doll was singing by itself. No one was near it. The next day, they removed the batteries. They placed the doll inside a cupboard. That night, at 3:03 a.m., the house was silent. Then suddenly, the doll sang again. This time, in Spanish. There were no batteries inside it. A few days later, Emily screamed. The doll was no longer on the shelf. It was sitting on her bed, facing her. That night, Emily refused to sleep. From the dark corner of the room, a voice whispered, "Let me go." The voice was not ELSA. It was slow, deep, and wrong. One morning, her father found words written on the mirror. It said, "I'm still here." There was no marker, no pen, no lipstick. That night, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft footsteps, like a child walking barefoot. They followed the sound. It led to the closet. The ELSA doll was standing upright, facing the door. Terrified, they sealed the doll in a plastic bag. They drove far away. They donated it. They left without looking back. For 3 days, the house was silent. Then there was a knock at the door. A woman from the donation center was standing outside. She held a familiar bag. She said, "This was returned. Your name and address were written inside." Inside the bag was the ELSA doll. Clean, dry, smiling. That night, Emily screamed again. Her parents ran into her room. The doll was sitting at the foot of her bed, facing her. Then the doll spoke. Not in ELSA's voice. Not in English. Not in Spanish. It said, "I was lonely." The lights went out. In the darkness, the singing started again. Soft, broken. "Let me go." But no one touched the doll. They say the doll is gone now. But somewhere, in a quiet house, in a dark room, a child's toy is still singing, and no one pressed the button. It was late, around 2 a.m., in a small town in Pennsylvania. A young woman, let's call her Anna, lived alone in an old rented apartment. That night, she woke up to soft tapping on her bedroom window. She lived on the 2nd floor. No way someone could reach it without being seen. The tapping stopped. She tried to ignore it. Then she heard it again closer, inside her apartment this time. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. From the kitchen. Her phone was charging in the living room. She grabbed it and dialed 911. But before she could speak, the footsteps stopped. Silence. Minutes later, she noticed a note on her pillow. Written in shaky letters, "I see you. I'm waiting." The police found no evidence. No one had broken in, but the lock on her door was slightly scratched, like someone had tried to force it. Anna moved out the next morning. She never explained it to anyone.
It was late July in Lake Tahoe, California. A group of friends had rented a cabin by the lake for a weekend getaway. On the first night, they stayed up late, telling stories around a fire. The air was calm, the water silent, and the woods around them were dark and still. Around 1:30 a.m., one of them, Mark, decided to take a walk along the shore. He wanted to film the lake under the moonlight. Hours passed. He didn't return. The group tried calling him on his phone. No answer. They searched the area, flashlight beams cutting through the fog. Nothing. Then, from the distance, they heard a low, guttural whisper. At first, they thought it was the wind. Then it called a name. Mark. It was coming from the woods. Closer. The whisper repeated. Not a voice, but something not human. Panicked, they ran back to the cabin and locked the doors. Mark's camera, which he had left on the shore, was found outside the cabin the next morning. The footage was horrifying. The first few minutes showed him walking normally. Then the trees seemed to shift. Shadows moved where they shouldn't. A dark figure appeared in the distance. Mark's voice is heard calling for help, but the figure mirrors him. Finally, the camera falls, and the last shot is of Mark's hand reaching towards the water, alone. Mark was never found. The police found no footprints, no signs of struggle, nothing in the water. The cabin was later abandoned. Locals say, if you go to the lake at night, you can hear someone calling your name from the woods.